Hello friends, this is Terry Smith, Purchasing Specialist for Lake Stevens School District. I want to talk with you about procurement cards, also known as P cards. These are the U.S. bank credit cards that we use. To meet the requirement of our state auditors, we have tightened internal controls and improved P card procedures over the last year and a half. Our updated P card manual and forms can be found on the Employee Resources Business Services webpage. Please refer to this page for current P card protocols, responsibilities, deadlines, and consequences for deficiencies. We are allowed to use P cards through our policy number 3700 on purchasing. The purchasing specialist issues the U.S. Bank P card. Let's go over some definitions. The card custodian is the person responsible for the P card, and the card user is the person using the P card. So it's possible that a card is issued to a card custodian and they then turn around and check it out to a card user. P cards are issued to department heads, administrators, and additional cards are issued to various other staff on a case-by-case basis with approval from the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. Anyone who uses a P card needs to sign a user agreement. However, when a card is issued to a card custodian, the business office will retain the signed user agreement. In addition, the purchasing specialist will provide training to the card custodian. Here is some guidance on the use of procurement cards. Only employees are allowed to use P cards. Students, parents, and volunteers are not authorized to use them. In addition, employees with violations, such as unresolved charges, missing receipts, and outstanding reconciliations, should not be using P cards. In Section 3 of the P card manual, there is a list of allowable and prohibited purchases. In case you are asked, you will want to have your district badge with you for identification when making in-store purchases. It actually states in the signature line on the back of the card, CID. The transaction date will determine which fiscal year is charged. Again, our fiscal year runs 9/1 through 8/31. Orders should not be delivered to a staff member's home. This is for everyone's protection. And P cards should be returned to the card custodian for the summer. So basically, they turn in their cards and receipts on the last day of school. If you need to make a purchase over the summer, contact the purchasing specialist. Any exceptions require advance approval of the purchasing specialist. They will keep a record on file of these exceptions. When purchasing from Amazon, you must go through the district's Amazon business account. This assists us in being able to track orders. Please contact the purchasing specialist to request the addition of staff to our Amazon business account. Please get prior approval from the purchasing specialist when ordering furniture or equipment on the P card. The finance department will need to tag some equipment for inventory purposes, and quite often we already have furniture in our surplus that will fit staff needs. There are some recent changes in the area of procurement that affect purchases made with P cards. When purchasing using federal funds, regardless of the dollar amount, there must be documentation of equitable distribution and reasonable price. This notation should be made on the invoice or receipt that is being turned in with the monthly P card packet. With federal purchases, we must also check the sam.gov website to verify that a vendor is not suspended or debarred. Please see instructions on how to go about doing this on our Employee Resources Business Services webpage. Verification that a vendor isn't suspended or debarred should be attached to the purchase order in Skyward. The sam.gov website isn't the easiest to navigate, so if you have problems with this process, please contact the purchasing specialist. The card custodian is responsible for records and reconciliations. The card custodian will need to retain the signed user agreement and sign-out log at the department or building level. This documentation is not sent to accounts payable. The card custodian will be matching the P card user with the purchases. A monthly reconciliation of transactions will be performed. This reconciliation can be done with U.S. Bank Access Online throughout the month. Transactions need to be verified, account codes need to be entered, and use tax, also known as comp tax, needs to be added if the vendor hasn't already included it in their order total. Please keep in mind that not all purchases are taxable. If unsure about whether to add use tax, please contact the purchasing specialist. The supporting documentation needs to be compiled. This documentation includes original itemized receipts, packing slips, pre-authorizations, statements, etc. Both the card custodian and the supervisor will need to review the information and sign the corresponding cardholder activity report. The packet will then be sent to accounts payable for review. The packet needs to be complete, and receipts should be in order of how they are listed on the log or statement. This is extremely helpful to accounting staff when they are auditing the backup documentation. Here are some important P-card deadlines. On the 11th of each month, account codes are due. Enter the account codes and tax information online. By the 14th of the month, the complete P-card packet and the signed activity report are due to accounts payable. 5 days after the packets are due, we will complete our review, and if needed, an urgent email will go out to the card custodian, their supervisor, with a copy going to the accounting supervisor regarding any concerns or deficiencies. A response and resolution will be required by the end of the month. Otherwise, the card will be suspended. The card custodian, supervisor, accounting supervisor, and assistant superintendent of business services and operations will be notified. With advance written approval, the accounting supervisor may make exceptions for extenuating circumstances. There is a lot of great information in our P-card manual. It includes steps to take when a vendor declines a P-card, how to safeguard the P-card, what to do when a transaction error occurs, and how to report a fraudulent charge. If you have questions pertaining to the P-card that are not addressed in the manual, please contact the purchasing specialist. Here's our contacts for administration of P-cards. We have significantly increased our usage of P-cards over the last few years, and we need strong internal controls in place to protect the privilege. We so appreciate your help in implementing these controls.